told your friend you're not okay? And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, 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 as you fade away.
Hi everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel if you're here for the first time. Now this is part 2 of this reading, so if you haven't watched part 1, I would suggest that you go back and watch that first so that this continues to make sense. Then continue to this part 2 and the next one, part 3. Hi, I'm Kerry. I guess I should say that. I'm an intuitive psychic, healer, spiritual mentor and author, and I'm so privileged to work with so many other highly respected and well-known Australian psychics. 4 of us got together and watched the interview of Gus's grandparent and did a psychic investigation on the interview responses. What happened was really interesting because we all did this independently and then shared the results with each other at the end. Most of our responses matched. So because the energy doesn't change, and I have been asked about Gus's missing person case so many times, I thought I would do this again and record live whilst I do it, so I could share it with you and maybe give you a psychic impression of what happened to Gus. Now, this is for entertainment purposes for those with a curious mind seeking psychic impressions, and it is not meant to be considered as evidence of anyone's innocence or guilt. Now, I will be using divination rods for this, but often receive psychic impressions at the same time, so I will share these with you too if I can. The rods will cross for yes, turn outward for no, and swing side to side for not yes or no. Ask a more specific question. So let's get started, shall we, and watch this first clip.
We were concentrating within probably 3/4 of a K or a K of the kilometre of the homestead and just searching where the tanks were, the dams, down by the cottage. I think we went to the shearing shed, but I'd be surprised if we didn't. And so Jess and I were in contact with the radio or visually pretty well the entire time, even though we might have been separated by 300 or 400 metres. We could see each other, we knew where we were. And we kept that up until it was getting to the dark stage, and then we went home. Went into the kitchen, and I think the question was raised, how soon do we notify the authorities that we might have a missing child and we need to do something about it? And I seem to recall it was sometime around 8 o'clock that we actually made the call.
So it's dark, it's getting later and later. When do the police first arrive? Because distance is a tyranny out there.
Yeah, so we understand that an officer named Luke was the first one to arrive from a nearby town. After that officer arrived, there was a second one on his way.
Luke and I were sitting on the hill outside the house trying to spot his flashing lights. And this went on for some time, trying to describe how he should get to the property, and I kept saying, look, go back to Paranormal Homestead and come in on the road. Eventually he just gave up and went back to our room, so he actually never arrived on the property. while Luke was there, I got in the vehicle with him and went down to the cottage, and we searched that and the shearers' quarters, all the buildings down there, the sheds, and then up to the shearing shed and checked all that. And I'm pretty sure we did the tanks and everything and the dam, because everyone automatically jumps to conclusions that he could be there, even though we'd already checked them 2 or 3 times by that stage.
It's interesting. So, saying the last time that they saw him was 5 o'clock, that they then arrived back from dealing with the cattle or the sheep at about 5:30 and started looking then, and then contacted around 8 o'clock, so about 2.5 hours, and then the time it took for authorities to come out and assist. So that's actually quite a long time. And then, of course, it would be so dark out there in the outback, no other lights around. That's crazy. Okay, let's ask this next question, shall we? Let me just get these rods settled. Settle in, thank you. Thank you. And you're just going to ask the question. Did the family search from 5:30 to 8 p.m. when they called authorities on the 27th of September 2025? That's a no. Okay, let's continue, will we?
A bit later that night, Shan and I went out in the buggy again, and we very carefully, because it was an issue with vehicles running around, if Gus was actually out there and walking around, if he blundered onto the road in front of a vehicle coming in, he could get cleaned up and run over very easily. So we were being very careful and just quietly, probably 10 or 15 k's an hour, moving along the roads, just checking along the roads, because as Jess said, and we were all fairly sure, that if he had gone for a walk, he would have walked along the road, because that's what he did.
I'm just going to stop it there. I don't think we asked this question the other night with everybody. I'm pretty sure it wasn't on our list, but I really feel like need to ask this question. So let's see. Let's get the rod set again. Okay. Was Gus struck by a vehicle searching for him in the dark? Okay, again, that was a no. Okay, let's continue.
A remote family sheep station, now the centre of a major police operation.
Let's talk about the very first search, the terrain, the temperatures, the size and the scale that we're dealing with here.
So the first search, they covered 60,000 hectares. There were at least 300 police officers and volunteers involved. They covered so much area of the land, and they searched all day.
The scale of the air and ground search as part of this investigation is unprecedented.
Certainly the family at the very beginning believed it was just a matter of time before he was found. But by the next day, when the sun was rising, that hope started to fade, and I got a sense that panic was starting to set in.
Imagine it being in that situation, just how heartbreaking that would truly be. But just how vast this entire area is incredible, and the number of people there searching. Honestly, you know, I'm sure they would have had difficulty covering it as well. Did notice though that the vegetation was quite low, so if they were using the helicopters and they were using the drones, you'd think you'd see some sign of something. But yeah, it's just crazy, isn't it, to think that he could just vanish like that. Okay, let's continue.
Hannah, Gus's grandmother Josie told you something extraordinary about what she saw the day after young Gus disappeared. What was that?
It seemed that in the hours before police arrived, there was possible evidence of someone else being on that property. We've never heard this before.
I remember looking out the window because it was starting to get light by that stage. And there was a bedstead there that we'd set up to put stone on to wash, and that bedstead had been moved, not quite 180 degrees, but certainly quite a substantial amount from when I last saw it. And I thought, what the hell's happened there? And it was reasonably heavy. A child would not be able to shift it. And this bedstead had been moved, and I also saw what we called the weather station had been moved. I'm not sure when that happened, but there appeared to be something had happened there. And I then walked up past where the bedstead was and thought, well, I better not move it because this could be an indication of something. Then I saw wheel tracks going down past where the bedstead was and past where the weather station was. And these wheel tracks were a small tyre, medium-sized car, and not much tread on them, not a off-road type tread. It was definitely a passenger type. And I thought, that's strange too. And I started to think almost immediately, I wonder if someone's come in. And all the time I was thinking, you know, there's a chance that he's been taken by someone.
Okay, let's just stop there for a second and ask the next question. Did a stranger take Gus? Again, that was a no. Next question. Did someone known to the family take him? That's also a no. Okay. Did someone known to the family hide him? That's also a no.
I was frankly horrified at the number of vehicles that were parked around our house because we hadn't actually seen them come in. My immediate thought was, my God, they've destroyed any chance of tracking him if he'd walked out on the road or anything, because the road was already pounded up and starting to get dusty and they'd made a mess. One instance we have, and again the police apologised to us afterwards, because I saw footprints in one of the dams. The dam was nearly dry, there was mostly mud, and I found these footprints in the dam and I took photographs of it. And we actually took one of Gus's boots out there and I laid it next to this footprint and took a photograph of it, and I said, it's got to be him. It's got to be him because it's the right size. And the police kept on saying that no, that it was a police diver. Yeah, this guy must have had a size, well, someone said it's smaller than a size 4 ladies' footprint, and he must have had tiny feet. And the superintendent admitted to me that was a mistake.
Okay, let's ask the question. Was it Gus's boot print in the mud at the dam? Yes. The rods are saying yes to that question. Okay, let's ask another clarifying question. Was that boot print made by Gus on the 27th of September, the day he was reported missing? That's a no. Okay, interesting. Let's keep going.
I was frankly horrified at the number of vehicles that were parked around our house because we hadn't actually seen them come in. My immediate thought was, my God, they've destroyed any chance of tracking him if he'd walked out on the road or anything, because the road was already pounded up and starting to get dusty and they'd made a mess. One instance we have, and again the police apologised to us afterwards, because I saw footprints in one of the dams. The dam was nearly dry, there was mostly mud, and I found these footprints in the dam.
So in the race to search for Gus, perhaps early evidence, early signs about someone else being on the property might have been lost.
That is what her concern is now.
It is fair to say that Josie doesn't have a lot of time for South Australia Police.
She's told me she's not happy with how this investigation has gone or the case of her grandson has been handled.
It was admitted to me later that they think that that was a mistake to come in with all those vehicles so early when they should have actually got the tracker guy from Port Augusta who'd been on our place tracking dogs and trapping them. And we needed to get him there while there was still a chance to find the tracks, but he didn't get there till 2 or 3 days after Gus went missing. I'm pretty sure I talked to Luke McCoy and said, look, don't rule out abduction. There's signs that something has occurred in front of the bomb shelter, and that was where Gus was when we last saw him, and we're suspicious. And I couldn't rule out that he'd walked off, and I couldn't rule out that he'd actually been taken. I said, you know, I don't know. And so that's the way I left it.
Okay, I'm just going to pause again for a sec. I don't think this question was asked a few days ago to my memory, but I do think it's worth asking now. So let's do that. Was evidence lost due to the way the police conducted the search during the early stages? Okay, that was a pretty slow no. So what it could mean is evidence could have been lost well and truly if there was evidence there. But it's not really saying that there was. Okay, let's continue, shall we?
What are you leaning towards now?
Oh, abduction. There was supposedly 700 people were on our property at any one time. Now, the important people in all that are the locals. It's our job to find things out there. This is what we do. And as time went on, I was getting more and more convinced when we couldn't find anything, we couldn't find a shoe, a hat, any sign of a top, nothing. We could not find a thing, and everyone said the same thing. This is ridiculous. There would be something out here. There has to be something.
This now leads us to a range of theories and possibilities. What has been speculated about what happened to Gus?
Well, the possibilities are sort of endless at this stage because the only evidence is no evidence. So abduction is a possibility. Wildlife, being taken by wildlife is a possibility.
If wildlife is a possibility, my bet would be wedge-tailed eagles. Wedge-tailed eagle can pick up a 20, 25 kilogram kangaroo and take it without much difficulty. Gus was 13 or 14 kilograms, so a mature wedge-tailed eagle would find that quite comfortable.
Okay, that really surprised me. I didn't think a wedge-tailed eagle could pick up that weight, but there you go. I guess they would know because they live in the bush and I don't. So, all right, well, let's ask the question then. Was Gus taken by a wedge-tailed eagle? That's a no. Okay. Let's ask another clarifying question. Was Gus taken by an animal? Another no. Okay, let's continue.
But we've also had theories, wild theories, from across the world. Police have had tips from Syria.
Are you kidding?
That's been one of the phone calls they've had, so many. And the sightings from overseas have been discounted. But because there is nothing, you have to follow up every tip, and there are hundreds. It is a huge amount of work for police.
If he died of exhaustion, you would have seen the eagles, the hawks, the ravens, all around the area. You would have seen it.
Yeah, what a difficult, horrible situation this is for everyone involved. Like, my heart just goes out to the family, poor little Gus. Really difficult. But also for the police as well. Like, it's such a huge area and would be really hard to do that investigation, plus all the other tips that come in as well. Well, look, I think that's a lot of information. I'm also mindful of the video sizes that I'm creating with this become a problem. So we'll leave the rest for part 3. I sort of added in a few of my ad hoc questions as well. So if you have any questions that you want to ask on something said during the interview that haven't been asked, add them into comments and I'll try and get to those as well. So now we'll leave it here. Come back and watch part 3. But just before we finish up, I'll add in a couple of tables for you showing just a quick snapshot of the results from all 4 psychics from a couple of nights ago. And I'll add in the responses that we've got today. Okay, have a great one. I'll see you next time. Bye.